All right, we live.
Hi. Awesome.
Yes, welcome everyone to the Crypto Fix. I'm your host, Ant. KPGE is not here today, so, so I brought Lena in for us to talk about different things about miners. Set up a miner in your household. We have questions people submitted. You know what to do. Throw your name in the chat. Throw your questions in the chat, and we will answer any questions. But we still gotta kick it off the regular way with our stories. Usually KPGE do it. I got the trusty iPad today. So I'm gonna talk to Lena about some stories, she give her opinion about the certain stories that I came across in the crypto world. So the first story, according to Gizmodo.com, Texas Senator Ted Cruz wants to bring cryptocurrency into Congress. On Wednesday, Cruz introduced the Accept resolution, which stands for adopting cryptocurrency in Congress as exchange of payment for transactional resolution. If adopted, the resolution could see the U.S. government contract with food vendors and vending machine operators to accept cryptocurrency.
Well, there are actually a lot of
Mhm.
stores, or I actually see them in a lot of gas stations that are starting to accept crypto as payment. And Texas, I'm not surprised about Texas because Texas is actually very crypto friendly. A
Mhm.
lot of mining farms out there, and they are very supportive of any kind of development in this industry.
Mhm.
Um, I think this would be definitely a good start for crypto. Um, I know in Miami, there definitely the South Beach area, Miami Beach area. There are a lot of restaurants or stores where you can pay and tip in crypto, and I think that would be very convenient for a lot of international travelers, and that will maybe bring more people to Texas.
So I feel like you said this is the government trying to sort of adapt into crypto. I think you and I have
Yeah.
multiple conversations how the government trying to get into crypto. By Ted Cruz introducing this bill, this not bill, but this act, and to having the older folks in Congress and to accept crypto, you think it would be a beneficial swing so that the see they have a better understanding to see these older folks that's still stuck with the old money get an idea of the future of crypto.
I can definitely see some people with old money that would be resistant
Hmm.
to this new currency or new way of the world. But I think it is inevitable. I mean, eventually we there are definitely more people adapting and accepting to this new way of payment. And I know like the old money want to hold on to it, and that's how they get their money.
Exactly.
But I do think that they have to adapt, and this is a good way to open into. I mean, and plus, like I think you mentioned to me a while back that
Hmm.
U.S. actually probably owns more crypto than any company or any other organization
Exactly.
in the world. So
Yeah, so I know like KBG and I be having conversations, and we always discuss, and that's definitely amongst the people, is that each government power, when they get into it, the question is who's going to be the first one?
mm,
Who's going to be the first one to adapt, to start their own cryptocurrency? So like you don't know which crypto they're going to accept as of yet in Congress. They don't know they're going to start accepting Bitcoin, Ethereum, or protocol Tesla, the new coin that's going to come out by them. So we don't know. So that makes the difference. So that's going to make a difference.
I think regardless which coin they want
Hmm.
to go, they want to develop or whichever, I still think that Bitcoin will be the major one, will be
You,
the top dog.
so they
And
go. So you think they're going to accept Bitcoin in Congress? Like when you go to the food trucks and vending machines, pay that Bitcoin.
I think it has to start at the organization level, like from companies,
Hmm.
stores, have to start accepting before government. I feel like government is always the last to cave.
Yeah, there was the last case because, like I said,
Yeah.
they make the rules. So you're right. I think you touched on it. At the company, the vendor people they go to
Mhm.
say, hey, we could do this, but we only accept Bitcoin. So now all the people in Congress, all people in the government has to buy Bitcoin. Now, I'm not going to tell you to be an expert in this. Do you think that by them doing it, the price of Bitcoin is going to skyrocket or?
Yes.
Mm.
But here's the thing. I don't think the government, I don't think I don't think any organization will say, oh, I'll only accept Bitcoin.
Mhm.
But they will say they'll encourage payment by Bitcoin.
Yes.
And when I travel, it's I know it's definitely more convenient to have places that accepts Bitcoin, because then I don't have to worry about the exchange rate, all that stuff.
Mhm.
And it actually saves me a lot of money if I can go to places that will accept Bitcoin as payment.
So I don't know how soon they're going to adopt his accept resolution. I don't know how fast they're going to adopt it, but if they do, can we see another sky high? Can we see 70K of Bitcoin? I mean, we don't get guarantees here. We just predict, and our predictions may come true, may not come true. That's what makes us the experts.
Last year has been really bad for Bitcoin, and I think there's nowhere to go but up right now. And I really think 70K is aiming low.
Ooh, we talking, Lena?
I mean, in the next couple of years,
we talking.
In the next couple of years, I do expect Bitcoin to really go up.
How much?
I don't know.
Throw a number behind that.
There are so many experts with all kinds of opinions, but I am seeing, whenever the market is turning good, people start to have good, people start to have good opinions of Bitcoin. And then when the market's bad, and then suddenly all the experts are saying, oh, it's going to nothing. But then as soon as the market shows it's doing good, and then Bitcoin is going to go to 1 million per coin. It's always like that. No, I'm not going to make predictions.
So you're not going to make a prediction. So you're not going to throw a number behind that. So you're not going to say Bitcoin 70K is low. So you're not going to say Bitcoin may reach.
We've been to very close to 70K. November 2021. We were, I think, at one point, a very small amount of time, we were at 68, 70. That's so close. 70K is not something that's out of reach, because we were so close to it.
100K? 200K?
I'm not going to make predictions on
this. So you're not going to put the number behind that. All right, that's a great way to escape from that. But we do have a question that someone submitted about setting up miners in your home. And the questions people may have, if you have any more questions you may have, throw it in the chat. But one of the questions someone sent to us, what type of electricity setup do I need to start mining?
So typically people who ask these type of questions, this question are people who either lives in Northern America or in the few countries in South America that has 120 volt in their regular outlet. I think most of the other countries in the world have 240 volt, and they don't have to worry about that. They can just plug into their wall. So in countries where your typical outlet is 120 volt, you do need to get an electrician to set up the proper electrical outlet to run the miners. Don't get the like $30 or $50 voltage converter thing from Amazon or eBay. Those are not going to work. The currents are not going to be, the voltage is not going to be, it's converted, but it's not going to be stable. The power is not going to be stable. So that's, I have seen customers that contact us about their power supply unit going bad on the miner, and then when we really dig into the problem, we realize that he used the converter, and that actually just killed the power supply unit. But if that's for the typical industrial, like the regular miners. There are companies out there that are making the smaller miners now that are friendly to US and Canada and Mexico and other countries that uses 120 volt. And those are called the home miners. and they're very small. They don't make a lot of noise or heat, and you can just plug into your regular outlet and they will work.
All right, so in America, so I mean, most of the people I think is from America that watch this.
Mhm.
The wattage of electricity from the outlet is 120 typical in a house or apartment.
Mhm.
So let's say they say mostly minus is 240 volts.
Mhm.
So if you live in an apartment, if you have a house, only a few things is 240, like your oven. If you have a washer dryer hookup,
The dryer
would be 240. So do you not recommend, but do you suggest someone say, hey, I want to get into mining? Do I unplug my oven or unplug my dryer? If you have the washer dryer hookup, if not, do I unplug my oven and plug in the miner and run?
Well, so the miners are designed to run 24/7. You're not supposed to unplug it it's not recommended to unplug it on daily basis to to use the outlet for other appliances. So, for your oven or your stovetop that uses 240 volt, in most cases, we will need to use those appliances to cook. Maybe maybe one or twice a day. So it's not recommended to use your oven outlet because and then every time you turn the machine off and restart, it actually takes time for the miner to start mining again. So I would not recommend the oven or the stovetop outlet. The dryer, for my house, I do laundry once a week. I have a weekly laundry day, and I think it would be okay if I unplug the machine once a week to run my dryer for maybe a couple of 3 hours, and then I plug the miner back in. I think that'll be okay.
Okay, so people out there, don't unplug your oven. So you got a choice between cooking or mining. I mean, I'm not saying what to do, but if you think making money, then cooking, by all means, do what makes you feel good. So if you do have a washer and dryer, and you unplug the dryer, let's say you do have a laundry once a week, you let the miner run, then unplug it for those 3 or 4 hours to do laundry. Do you suggest that? More of a method if you working at, let's say you don't have a house, let's say you have this apartment.
I think most landlords probably wouldn't allow you to run a miner in the apartment. And another thing is, if you live in an apartment, it's probably a smaller space than the house. So the noise will really get to you.
Oh yeah.
The miners can get very loud. That's why, if for people who live in apartments, there are the home miners that you can look into. I have heard of customers who live in apartments that includes utility in the rent.
Yes.
So they just plug a whole bunch of machines in, and it definitely makes enough money to cover rent.
I mean,
it depends on how many miners you plug in.
I mean, in New York City, you live in the projects. Electricity is included in the rent in the projects. So I'm not saying do that, but you said landlords will get upset that you run in the miner, and you mentioned that it produce heat and noise level. What is the best place to put a miner then? Like, I won't feel that heat hitting me, or the noise keeping me up at night, or the neighbors.
I would say, so if you want to get one of the regular miners, not the home miners, definitely aim for garage or basement. I used to run our repair and diagnostics station for btminers in my basement. Like before we officially started the repair service in the office, I used to run it in my basement. And when I am done repairing a miner and I let it run, I can actually, now I live in a 2-floor house with a basement. I can still hear the miners. Usually I run about 1 to 2 miners. I typically can still hear the miner in my second floor bedroom with the doors closed.
And that's all right. So you don't feel the heat, but you hear the noise.
Correct. And the heat, it does get really warm. Typically, basements are not heated. We're in Northern America, and upstate New York can get really cold during the winter. But if I let two miners run at the same time, it will actually get too hot in my basement for me to really work.
So it'll get too hot. So
it will get,
even though it may be like 20 degrees outside, that you got two miners running at the same time.
Well, my basement is very enclosed, and there's no ventilation going out.
Of course.
But if you do plan on running multiple miners, definitely get a fan or something to pull the hot air out.
One of those industrial fans or just a regular?
You will need a very powerful fan too.
Like ones you get from Home Depot, the big ones.
Look into. I'm not sure if the ones from Home Depot will be sufficient. And plus, it also depends on the design, like how small of an area you want to designate to mining. If you have a very small area, and we have a customer who runs his miner in a shed behind his house, and basically one big fan on one side of the shed and then another fan on the other side, and all he had to do is one side of the fan will be pulling the cool air in from outside, the other one will be blowing hot air out, and that's good enough for him. And he I think he ran like he bought 6 or 7 miners from us, so that's sufficient enough for him. So it really depends on how big the area is. A lot of things to consider.
Okay, so that makes sense. And if you don't have a house or a shed, talk to your landlord. So you could cut a deal and say, hey, can I run this miner in the basement? I give you like 25% of the proceeds. Let's work some deal out.
I think that's a bit high, but typically property owners typically aren't very fond of you going in there and reconfiguring outlets and stuff like that.
I mean, hey, you get some proceeds. Say, hey,
it could work. It
could work out. We can work out a deal. So before we jump to our next question, we had another story. This one is from CNN.com. So Senator Elizabeth Warren, crypto giants are collapsing under the weight of their own fraud. So this is what she said. For all the talk of innovation and financial inclusion, crypto industry giants from FTX to Celsius to Voyager are collapsing under the weight of their own fraud, deceit, and gross management. And when they sink, they take a lot of honest investors down with them. So we all know what's going on. Like all these third-party platforms from Crypto.com, FTX, Voyager, Celsius, even Genesis right now is going through things. Like, is it because crypto is decentralized, you see more greed than regular money from these individuals? And it does give crypto a bad name.
It does, but here's how I see it. At the very beginning of every industry, there will be people taking advantage of loopholes, or people who are greedy and who will try to find ways to defraud people, customers, and that would actually apply to every industry. There are trust funds, or there are people who not trust funds. There are people who in investment firms and banks used to do that. Like that's bad investments and bad decisions, or fraudulent actions have occurred in traditional banks too. But we still have banks around. Right?
Hold on, before we go to that, we got a question from Yumi Feeders. This person you want to chat every time. I never pronounce your name right. So he asks K3 question. We get those every week. Does it comes with 2 power cords plugged in?
So the K3s, I believe they do require 2 power cords. All the power supply units for Bitmains and miners, the current ones, the bulkier ones, the industrial ones, I believe they're all 2 plugs. And but the plugs are really cheap. They're like maybe like $5-6 on Amazon. The ones that comes with the miner has the China standard plug on the other end. So most people in US or in North America actually have switched them out. But they're really easy to switch out. The China standard cores, the one that's like vertical on the top and then slanted on the bottom, those I think can be used in China, of course, but also in like Asia and I think in some parts of Europe. But unfortunately, in US where we're at, I mean, they're $6, maybe 7 on Amazon, and they're really cheap to switch out.
I'm saying people ask the question. When you ask us question, who do y'all ask? I go right to Lena. I said, hey, if we don't know something, we KPGE and I will ask Lena these questions, and she give us the answers. So can I plug one? Can I plug one into a 120 volt, and the second cord into another 120 volt outlet, as long as it's not the same leg? Ooh.
No, it has to be. So it has to be two 240 volt outlets. They can share the amperage. So basically, when I was setting up I'm the person that set up our repair and testing centers for the office here, and basically we have multiple 20 amp outlets, and each of them we use something called a PDU, a power distribution unit, and basically they're also used as it's basically to prevent the circuit from tripping, and we basically those are basically has multiple plugs, and then we can just plug the machine into those, so it basically give us additional outlets for that going into the same wall plug. So you would, so yes, so you will need 240 volt. The two 120 will not work, is what I'm trying to say.
All right, so don't blow a fuse in your house. You don't want that. You may blow out the whole neighborhood.
I think if you just plug them into the 120 volt, it will simply not run. It simply won't start.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you had two of them.
Even if you split the two cords into two 120 volt, I don't think they're going to start. It's simply just going to sit there. And then once you have both plugs plug into 240 volt, it'll start running.
So if you do split it, would it damage the miner? Like you may blow a circuit. Let's say, okay, I split it, the 240 to the 120 each one.
Have an electrician definitely set up. Like for the K3s, have an electrician set up 240 volt, at least 20 amps per machine. That way there's enough power going into the machine and for it to run properly at the right hash rate. Because if you don't give it enough power, hash rate will also be lower.
So less hash rate, less money.
Correct.
So 240 it is. So before we went back to the story,
okay.
Elizabeth Warren, people just catching on that she felt that all these crypto giants is mismanaged and, like I said, and give a fraudulent look on innovation. And like I said, we seen with FTX, Genesis, and everything like that. It said we gives a bad look on crypto. People that's still on the fence of crypto. It
does give crypto a bad name, bad image. But I think there are definitely still lots of honest companies, us included, in this industry. And I do think that as we start to be more accustomed to the stuff that's going on and rules are adjusted, we will be able to, especially with the bad market last year, I think a lot of companies that are mismanaging have tanked. And I think this bad year last year is really washed out a lot of companies that shouldn't have stayed.
Should have stayed. You always say they're welcome.
Yes, and so going forward, I do believe that it will get better, and I do think that the government will probably step in a little bit to protect the customers, to protect the clients of these companies, and it will get better.
So you mentioned, I think you mentioned that the government will come in, step in, protect the customers. By government stepping in, you always know they're gonna either you get it right or we're gonna straight ban this.
Uh,
And the industry we in it can switch overnight with no hesitation, based on state or federal.
so I do believe that somewhere down the line, the
Mhm.
federal government will probably have to step in a little bit to make sure there's no more, or there's less fraudulent activity going on. I mean, it's impossible to eliminate everything. Even in very traditional industry, there's still fishy stuff going on.
Yes.
So I don't want to say eliminate, but reduce, and to protect the customers a little bit more. And things like what happened with FTX, the government is going after Sam, and we are starting to pick up on the things that these companies can do to defraud people. So the more we know, the more we can protect ourselves.
Yeah, watch out for the red flags.
Yeah.
And you see a third party trading platform scale at the amount SCX scaled at. They get these celebrities. They do get arenas named after them. They hold something coming down the pipeline that either I'm going to lose money or a bunch of people going to lose money. So he told me how to pronounce his name right in the chat. You know me, Phoenix. There we go. He said, does the internet speed affect how much crypto you mine?
The machines use very little internet. Most miners typically are only worried about power consumption, electricity wise. We're not too worried about internet. I think the cheapest internet that we can buy in the region that we're in, I think it's like about
300 megabytes.
Yeah, 200-300 megabits per second. And the machines use maybe 5 or 10 in that area. So even the cheapest internet that you can buy from your internet provider will run tons of miners. So don't worry about internet.
So I know we had that question before. Is it better to hardwire with an Ethernet cable, or can we just do it wirelessly?
Most traditional standard miners will require the miners to be plugged in by Ethernet. Most of the miners will not have that wireless option. But I have seen people work around that. So you can buy an internet extender from Amazon probably, and those extenders you can buy one that has the Ethernet plug on the side or at the bottom, and you can just use that to have basically internet and very close to wherever you want to place your miner. Or the other option would be the home miner. A lot of the home, not all of them, but a lot of the home miners do have the Wi-Fi option put in there, so you can just run everything wirelessly.
I know we touched on this question already, but I want to expand on this question. That which place is it better to mine at a mining farm or at your home? So we discussed the pros and some of the cons of mining in your household. How about a farm?
So it really depends on what kind of miners you have. So mining farms, a lot of mining farms that I have worked with, that I have spoken to, will only take miners that consumes 3,000 watts or more. So definitely the bigger machines. If you have a whole bunch of those, maybe the hosting facility, the mining farms, the hosting facilities, they will have cheaper electricity options for you. But definitely look into read the contract carefully, make sure there are no hidden fees. Typically, these industrial places will have cheaper electricity than your typical home. The residential electric rate typically is not as good as theirs.
But I know over the summertime, the majority of mining farms started shutting down due to the weather. So if I know it's one of the cons, if I do mine at this farm, how worried should I be? I get a phone call that say, "Hey, we got to shut down. We got to shut down things. Either they did something shady, or the heat, that southern heat or
Mm.
northern heat is say we burning too much electricity, and the town folks are starting to get mad at us."
So again, contracts are very, very important. Typically, with a hosting contract, they will state, a legit company will definitely state the allowable downtime, and that is to, you know, accommodate for heat waves down south, or like hurricanes, or things happen, and natural disasters, things like that. And typically that's 5%, and that's over the course of 12 months. So if you do sign on to a hosting facility, and they shut down for a few days during summer, don't really have to worry about that, because typically, it will average out. During winter, it'll probably run nonstop. Most of the facilities that I have visited, they put in the 5%, but typically the downtime is around like 3%. And the 5% is pretty much the max.
All right, so 5% in the mining farm. So I can say I seen something. Even though we may have a contract, I seen mining farms do some shady stuff. What do you recommend for legit hosting in the United States? Ooh, here's time to plug. Plugging out mining farm.
We do offer hosting at btminers, and our rates are okay. Well, so our main source of revenue is from selling the miner. We do offer hosting options for smaller quantity customers with small quantity. Like if you have a few hundred miners that you need hosted, our facility is not big enough for that yet. But we do know a few places that would be able to help with like larger quantity, but smaller quantities we do offer hosting options. So maybe look into us.
Joe Surfer, look into us. Even though we have one in New York, we hope we could satisfy that. Because you're a surfer, I know you probably down in, what's that? California, Florida. Wherever they have the good waves, all the way, man. So, like I said, that's one of the things. Like, hey, finding a legit hosting facility in the United States is always a major question. So we heard the horror stories that there's host facilities that you take miners and magically shut down, and all the miners is gone.
So definitely, you can look in. So when you check out mining facilities, ask for like they should be registered companies in US. So ask for their registration. Ask if they have most of them probably won't have insurance for the miners that are sitting in there. I haven't found any insurance company that will insure the miners themselves yet. But most of the mining farms will have insurance for the building or for the business. And call them and email them, make sure they do respond. You can always ask if you can visit, though most places, unless you have really, really large quantity, most places will not allow outside visitors. I mean, these miners, they are very expensive. During the high times, the good times of crypto mining, each miner can be worth well over $10,000. So we're talking about millions of dollars of machines that you can easily just like rob and put into a truck and haul away. And there's no way for anyone to really track them. So yeah, unless you approach them as a corporation and have a really large power power need, most of them will not allow you to visit. But documents, registrations, things like, and then look for reviews online, things like that, and that'll definitely really vet out some of them.
All right, we have a few more questions from Joe Surfer. Then Phoenix has asked the question. He asked him what's the rate. He said Florida is 12 cent here. You asked him an hour rate for our mining farm?
So for our mining farm, we do have two options. Because we are very new, so we do offer the option of a 3-month contract. So you can mine for 3 months to see if our response time for if there's something wrong with the machine, how long we respond, how long it takes for us to respond, things like that. So you can sign up for 3 months at 11 cents per kilowatt hour, or you can do a 1-year contract at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. And the benefit of our facility is we don't have the additional monthly maintenance fees, things like that. We do charge extra if we have to take your machine offline for repairs. So if you call us and say, hey, Lena, my machine hasn't been mining at the right hash rate for the past few hours or past day, can you look into my machine for me? Okay, so we do charge extra for if you need to have the machine repaired. But if it's regular maintenance, and it's all part of the package, so you don't have to worry about hidden fees.
All right, he did ask for on-site repair, so I be having the whole conversation. I'm going to jump in and answer some of those questions. On-site repair. So do some of these mining farms that you say you got to take it offline? Do they repair right on site, or do we got to take it to our shop, or take it to someone they know that's trustworthy to repair the miner?
So most hosting facilities, they will ask for additional parts where they can swap out the parts for you. So say like fans and power supply units, a lot of them will swap them out for you at certain fee per hour. But they don't actually do repairs on the bad part. Oh, sorry.
That's why we laugh, man. All the mistakes. All mistakes.
Sorry about that. So yeah, most facilities, they do have people who can, swapping out the parts are really, really easy. So we do have, most mining facilities, they will be able to have a guy go in there and just swap out the parts for you. But if you need the parts, if you need the hash boards or power supply units or the control boards repaired, I don't know of any hosting facility. I'm sure there are hosting facilities out there that can do it, but we don't know any that can do it on site right there. We do have a repair station in upstate New York, but it's still about 2 hours from our hosting facility. So say you run the miner at our facility, and 2, 3, 4, maybe a year down the line, and you say, hey, Lena, my machine's not working at the right hash rate, and then we'll do a diagnostic with you. We have someone in-house that will do diagnostic with you. And then if we'll look through the miner logs or the kernel logs if you have an end miner, and then our technician will be able to identify the problem, and then we will either tell the guy at the hosting facility to take it apart and send us just the bad part for repair, or if it needs further diagnosis with our other special computers, then we will ask for the whole machine to be shipped to our repair station, and then once we repair it, we'll send it back to the facility right away. So there's not a lot of time wasted away from mining.
All right, so me. Phoenix he's seen on YouTube. I've seen on YouTube people placing their miner in the aquarium and filling with liquid, then run it. Do you have any info on submerged mining?
So we just sell the miners. We don't sell any immersion. It's called liquid immersion. We don't sell the equipment for those, but yes, they are becoming more popular simply because the water will cool the machines at it'll cool better than fans. And but the thing is, the problem is in repair. So if you immerse the boards, the hash boards in the oil, typically that's not a good idea. And typically, if you have, when it's running well, then that's not a problem. But if somewhere down the line you need to get repairs on these, a lot of repair centers will not take PCB boards that has been submerged in oil. The ones that are, I know Bitmain has ones that are hydro, so I think those will be coming out soon. And those, because they were certified by Bitmain, most repair facilities that has been trained by Bitmain will be able to take repairs for those. So I guess the thing is, when the machine is running fine, immersion cooling will be more efficient, will be cheaper. Immersion cooling will produce higher hash rate at probably cheaper electricity. But when problems do arise, it gets a little complicated.
So they were talking about, I want to get on this one. 5 cents, he paid electricity for 5 cents. You know me, Phoenix, in Ohio. Where in Ohio? Let us know. We can make a phone call ourselves. Y'all paying that cheap out there.
Let me cut you off real quick. So for a lot of our clients, including myself, for my home, my electricity is probably 6 cents, but they also charge another 6 point something, almost 7 cents for the delivery of electricity. So make sure when you're looking at it, you're not just looking at the cost for electricity per kilowatt hour. You also look into if they charge a delivery fee per kilowatt hour. If you add those two together, electricity may not be what you expected.
He said he live in the woods.
I mean, we're in New York. New York,
he said I live in the woods.
A little more expensive, and but 5 cents is really good. If it is really 5 cents, most even industrial level electricity, I haven't heard of 5 cents in a very long time. 2-3 years ago, maybe 5 cents, but unless you have solar panel or like it's powered by hydro or something. I mean, like if you have your own system for your home or for wherever you run your miner, unless you have those support system to help boost the electricity in your home, most places residential, I haven't heard of anywhere that has 5 cents.
That's good. I ain't gonna lie.
That's very cheap.
I saw like the whole submerged thing, right? Me, I don't trust it. Even though they say you could do it, I look at it like this: if Sony told you could submerge your PS5 in water, would you do it? I wouldn't. I spent too much money on the game system.
These are different. So no. So Bitmain came out with the newest miners. They are called I forgot the exact name, but they are the hydro miners. They are basically just the same S19 series, but they just overclock them using the hydro, basically the immersion system. So you can definitely do it, but make sure the places you buy the immersion tanks, the liquid, everything, make sure they are good quality, and then make sure you have support. Like if you, I haven't tried these for btminers. We don't do immersion yet. We haven't. We don't have a branch that had to do anything in that area, so I don't have too much detail. But just be very careful because these machines are expensive. Don't break them.
So yeah, really, they'll break down. So it goes back to now. I have a question here. Like, how can I calculate how much I'll have to pay electricity? So you're mining, you think everything is fun. You know, you're in the miner pool, or you're mining solo. You see that money starting to come in. Now that you get a bill, the electric company sends you a bill.
So you can. I do have an Excel file that I use to do the calculation, but I think that there's an option on our website to do the calculation as well.
The minor probability section.
Yes. So if you want to calculate by hand, every machine that you buy, under the description, it will tell you the power on wall or power consumption, and that's typically, like for the bulkier machines, typically it's around 3,000 or more. So that's watt per hour. You have to convert that to kilowatt per hour. So divide that by 1,000. And then you have to multiply that by 24, because there are 24 hours in a day, and then 30 or 31 days in a month. And then, so multiply by 24, and then by 30 or 31, and then multiply that by the cost of your electricity. So
So what's the equation now? Like, most people suck at math. So what's the equation?
So power consumption multiply by 24, and then by 30, and then divide by 1,000.
Times 24. What is it? Yeah, power consumption times 24.
Times 30.
Times 30.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, times by 30. And then times by your cost of electricity.
Your costs.
Because your electricity, you should be able to look on your bill how much they charge per kilowatt hour. So your cost of electricity, and then divide by typically you have to divide by 1,000, because the power consumption is typically in watt, and you want to convert that to kilowatt.
All right. People, that is the equation to know how much you're spending. So it's your power consumption times by 24, 24 hours times 30, times your cost of what you're spending, divided by 1,000.
And that will get your cost per electricity per month.
All right. So you ever saw someone, they get a miner, they bring in their money, but the electricity bill is higher than what they're bringing in. So pretty much you didn't even bring it even. You just operating in the red. Have you seen that before?
I have, and we do have some clients that are running that way. But most of these are customers who plan on holding the coins on the long run, and they have extra cash on the side to pay for electricity. So for most people who runs a miner at like a farm or something, so the coins that they collect, they will sell a portion of it every month to cover electricity. In the cases where it won't cover electricity, like last year, a lot of miners, a lot of hosting facilities had to shut down last year because cost of electricity has gone up and profitability has gone down because of the cost for Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever coin that you're trying to mine. So a lot of customers, they do hold on to coins in hope that a few months or a few years down the road, the coins will be back to the highest, 68,000 per coin price, and then they'll sell it then. I have met a few customers who started mining back, at the very beginning of mining, like 6-7 years ago, and they only sell when they really need the money for stuff, and they save a lot of their Bitcoin. We're talking about back when each block was like 25 Bitcoins or more.
Those are good old days.
Those were a long time ago.
Those are good old days.
Bitcoins weren't as as valuable back then.
Yeah.
But I do know a few people who saved their Bitcoins. And they didn't sell until like November of 2021, and even then they didn't sell all of it. They sell a small portion that they want to use for whatever project they want to do. And I met a guy at Bitcoin 2022
Mm-hmm.
that started mining when he was in high school, and now he owns. Well, as of last year, he owned 2 big container, like semi-truck size containers of mining farms. And I believe at the time he was only like in his early 20s.
That's
right. Millions of dollars.
That's right. So that's crazy. So at the time, I mean, like you said, the good old days, imagine you get 25 Bitcoins a day just by mining. And we all be living rich. We all be out here.
I have family members that invest in Bitcoin a long time ago, but most of them sold at the $3,000 or $5,000
at that peak.
Yeah, at that mark, and most of them didn't keep as many. I mean, one of them was my mother, by the way, and she sold when her Bitcoin doubled in value, but she didn't invest more. So I just feel like, I could be a millionaire's son, a millionaire's daughter if my mother had like continued investing in Bitcoin.
That's kind of amazing. So one last question before we go. How many computers do you need to run a miner? And do you need a specific type of computer? Do you need a PC, Mac?
I think both of them work, but most people that I know do use PC. It's just easier to download apps to find the IP address. Basically, you find the IP address for your miner, and then it just runs. So you find the IP address, and then you have to put in your pool and worker name, and then that's all you need the computer for. And then you can just shut off your computer. The miners will run by itself, even if there's a power outage and the miner has to restart. Those information, your pool and worker name, is configured in there, so you don't have to reconfigure with your laptop. So the miner will run by itself without the computer, without the PC or the Mac. And but with that being said, I do recommend checking on your miner at least once a day or
so
once every 2 days. Yeah,
make sure the hash rate is
make sure everything is correct. Make sure you're still mining at the right hash rate, things like that.
All right. So if I did that at a mining farm, do I have remote access to my miner, or do you let me know if everything is running correctly?
You can check how much. You can check the hash rate of your miner by the pool that you use. So say like I use F2 pool, and I can actually so with F2 pool, basically what I do is like I will tell the hosting facility, I'll say, hey, use F2 pool, and then this is my worker name, and then I want my first S19 to be Lena S19. Lena .S19.1, and then the next one will be Lena.S19.2. So that way you can differentiate which miner is which. And then if there's a problem and the hash rate just dropped, I can go to the hosting facility and I say, hey, my S19 number 2 just dropped to half the hash rate. Can you look into that for me? And they will look into that, and they'll say, oh, okay, we can do a diagnostic, something like that, and we'll proceed from there. Someone's trying to reach me. But
it happens all the time. A lot of people always try to reach out to you when you least suspect it.
Yeah.
All right. So people that want to do the mining pool, any other questions you may have, throw it in the chat. Maybe so we definitely reach out. This is my source right here. I get all my information from Lena because answering these questions I have in the chats and stuff like that on social media. Let's see, do we have another question here? I mean, we pretty much touched bases on all the questions.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And definitely, throw us questions on social media,
Mhm.
or give us a call. We do have associates here in US, and we have associates in China as well. So pretty much 24/7, if you call our number, someone will pick up.
Are they picking up this week still? It is the new
Oh,
year.
yeah, that's right.
No,
Okay.
these still partying like
That's
it's
right, that's right,
1999
that's
over
right.
there.
So in most cases, someone will pick up. Sometimes, so our company phone is routed to different people during different
Mhm.
times. So, like, say, like during regular business hours, Eastern Standard Time,
Mhm.
we have another associate here named Leah. I know the name's very close, but Leah does pick up on from 9 to 5, and then usually after hours I'll pick up, and then if it's like after, I was like 10 or 9:30 or 10, and you have questions at that time, you can still call. Our guys in China will be in office at the time, and they will be able to pick up. But if you happen to have called us at 2 o'clock in the morning this week, because of Chinese New Year's, everyone at our headquarters has been gone to celebrate the
Home,
holiday.
probably loaded and having a good time.
Good food. Yeah.
All right, would be nice to check temperature remote, not just hash rate,
Mm.
and have firmware. That is, I mean, that is a good question. Like the you miner at a farm, like you want to check the temperature, make sure everything's good. It's just not the checking the hash rate.
So typically we will say that you don't really have to worry about you do have to worry about temperature,
Mhm.
but if the temperature gets too high, most miners will have a protection system where it will shut off if the miner temperature gets too high. So you don't really have to worry about it burning. Usually, if the chips on the on the hash boards burn, it's because of power surge. In the past few weeks, I have been talking with our repair technician here, and we do see more corrosion on the hash boards than burnt chips on the hash board. So if your miner is within the healthy temperature, typically it will just run. The hash rate will be right. But if the temperature is too high, you will see the hash rate drop. And basically, if the hash rate drops, then you can start looking to miner. So don't worry about the temperature if the miner is running at the right hash rate.
Mm. Any other questions for us? Like I said, we got a few more minutes. Let us know. Like I said, give us a call, email us. We answer any question you may have. Again, people may have questions about the KE3. Still no updates.
Chinese New Year this week, so we haven't heard anything from Bitmain or from anyone from our. So we do have we do work with a few sales associates from Bitmain, and we haven't heard any updates, unfortunately.
Exactly.
And it's break. They're not even answering phone calls at this point. But once the break is over, we'll be reaching out to them. I'm not sure about on daily basis, but we'll be reaching out to them to get an update once every couple of days to see when they'll be shipping.
And like I said, once KPGE back here next week, if we have any updates, like I said, we'll definitely let you know. And until then, like I said, we at the mercy just like everyone else. They got us behind our backs as well.
And this will apply to all the vendors. We're not the only ones that they're not sending the miners to. Everyone, when it's delayed, everyone is delayed. No one's getting the miners.
People think we have them stored away somewhere. Like, we got them stashed away.
No, we don't do that to our customers. Yeah. Trust is one of those things where it's difficult to gain, but you can lose it within seconds.
Exactly. So everyone, this has been the Crypto Fix Live. I'm your host, Ant, with our special guest, Lena. KPGE will be here next week. Same time, same place. Have a good weekend. Be safe. Keep mind. Keep those fins spinning. We out.
Bye. Oh,
That's not bad. An hour